Hi, good day everyone. My name is Xiaohui, and today I'm going to share with you about this interesting topic. We call it the basic healthy diet that is together with its scientific agreement with the Bible and also Ellen G. White's writings. So these presentations, I'm going to share with you all this alignment and we will go through one by one. So first one, we will talk about meat consumption and the health risks. Okay, so according to the biblical views, it is actually better not to eat meat or drink wine or to do anything else that will cause your brother or sister to fall. And for Ellen's White, they stated that you place upon your table food which tests the digestive organs, excites the animal passions, and weakens the moral and intellectual faculties. And rich food and flesh meats are no benefit to you. So the evidence-based research shows that the total rate and processed meat consumption was significantly associated with greater health risks. For example, colorectal cancer, lung cancer, and also renal cell cancer. So we can see it's a very high risk for people who take red and processed meat. If they have this kind of eating habit, then they will cause a lot of non-communicable diseases. It will increase the risk of cancer and also heart diseases. And you also, especially they have this poultry, if let's say they take higher consumption of chronic diseases, if they have this poultry, fish, nuts, and legume. So this is actually strongly applicable for biblical and Allen's will. The meat weakens moral and intellectual faculties, and they try to avoid causing others to stumble. That's why we have this dietary recommendation to limit red meat to 98 to 500 grams per week, and there's no safe level for processed meat. So let's come to the next one. We'll talk about the fruits and vegetables. What are the things that they say about this as foundations of our health? So biblical view says that, and God said, I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the whole earth, and every tree that has fruit with seed in it, that it will be yours for food. Well, G. White's view says that vegetables, fruits, and grains should compose our diet. Okay, not an ounce of flesh meat should enter our stomachs. The eating of flesh is unnatural. We are due to return to God's original purpose in the creations of man. So, what about evidence-based says that fruits and vegetables contain a diverse array of dietary bioactive compounds that provide human health benefits beyond basic nutrition in addition to their essential nutrients. And for this dietary role, excuse me, we have this essential for satiety. Fruits and vegetables help out with the weight loss and also chronic diseases prevention. And this is aligned with the biblical and Ellen's view about fruits and vegetables are God's original food for men. And they bring the health benefits. Especially the health organization always recommend that the consumption of at least 400 grams of fruits and vegetables daily because it helps support lung function, reduce oxidative stress, promote gut health, treating the non-communicable diseases. Okay, and let's come to the next. Next is the nutrient powerhouses. Okay, the impact for nuts from the scientists is says that an intake of 28 grams per day nuts compared with no eating nuts was associated with a 21% of reductions of cardiovascular diseases. These include coronary heart disease, incident and mortality, and also the atrial fibrillations and stroke mortality, 11% risk reduction of cancer death, and also 22% reductions in all-cause mortality. And while biblical view says that Genesis 43:11 NIV says, Then their fathers Israel said to them, If it must be, then do this. Put some of the best products of the land in your bags and take them down to the men as a gift. A little balm and a little honey, some spices and myrrh, some pistachio nuts and almonds. Alan Wells says that grains, fruits, nuts, and vegetables constitute the diet chosen for us by our Creator. These foods prepared in as simple and natural a manner as possible, and is the most helpful and nourishing food. They impart a strength, a power of endurance, and a vigor of intellect that are not afforded by a more complex and stimulating diet. And they also stated that higher consumption of nuts actually can help lower risk of cardiovascular diseases, stroke, and mortality from respiratory diseases, infectious diseases, and diabetes. Well, for biblical evidence view, it's actually aligned, saying that nuts are nourishing, imparting strength and intellectual vigor. So the recommended intake is actually 1 servings, a handful size, sadly will reduce the heart disease, cancer death, and also support weight management. Let's come seeing that there's a research says that the almonds actually have a lot of benefits for our body composition. It can significantly reduce the body and fat mass. For heart health, it can help to lower LDL cholesterol and diastolic blood pressure. So it's actually recommended as a healthy, targeted snack choice. So now come to the sugar concept. What is actually a biblical view says about this? The Proverbs 25:27 NIV says that it is not good to eat too much of honey, nor is it honorable to search out matters that are too deep. Well, Allen's view says that it is better to let sweet things alone, let alone those sweet dessert dishes that are placed on the table. You do not need them. You want a clear mind to think after God's order. The review and heard from this Allen's view. So the impact for health has been shown by the recent research and the current all the while the research says that the sugars is actually too high sugar is not good for our health. And 100 grams per day increase in dietary sugar intake correlated with a 28% of higher prevalence of depression. The high sugar diet can disrupt the gut microbiota and leads to depression. Sugar can also cause compulsive behaviors and food addiction, and high intake may trigger mood swings and impulsive actions. So long term, it will also cause this high sugar diet and sugar can be addictive, can predispose an individual to the risk of food addiction. This also linked to sustained use disorder predictors. You can see some of the research shows effect to the mental health, and the dietary advice is better to avoid sweet desserts for clear thinking, and the gradual reductions is better because you want to slowly reduce sugar without replacements to shift preference. And one research also shows that a high sugar during pregnancy and lactations is strongly linked to the development of metabolic and mental disorders in offspring, including mood disorders and compulsive or impulsive behavior. So you can see the proof about high sugar can harm all these offspring's metabolic and mental health. What about salt intake? Allen's view about salt is that do not eat largely of salt. Avoid the use of pickles and spiced foods. Eat an abundance of fruits, and irritations that cause for so much drink at meal time will largely disappear. While biblical view says that season all your grain offering with salt. I think this is the one of the different one, and if let's say with balanced salt, I think should be alright. Do not leave the salt of the covenants of God out of your grain offerings, and add salt to all your offerings. Well, research shows that older adults with normal blood pressure could benefit from using a salt substitute without the risk of hypertension. And strict salt restriction is vital for those with high blood pressure and waist size. It can also show that the salt reduction benefit those if you substitute with the potassium salt, it can cut hypertension risk by 40% in elderly Chinese adults. The pickled food risk is actually very high risk in our daily diet. High salt and sugar in pickles raise blood pressure and diabetic risk. While the metabolic syndrome, the strict salt restriction shows that it's vital for those with high blood pressure and waist size. And spices. What about the spices and their health effects? So the biblical view says that the Lord says to Moses, take the following 5 spices, 500 shekels of liquid myrrh, half as much, that is 200 shekels of fragrant cinnamon, 250 shekels of fragrant calamus, 500 shekels of cassia, all according to the sanctuary shekels, and a hint of olive oil. While Allen's view says that condiments, so frequently used by those of the world, are ruinous to the digestion. We can see some of the research shows that the herbs and spices have the potential to ameliorate the obesity and its associated risk factor. For example of the herbs and spices such as basil, cardamom, cinnamon, coriander, garlic, ginger, nigella, and turmeric. So you can see it actually all this help with the sugar control. Okay, the research shows that all this cinnamon, fenugreek, nigella, ginger, and turmeric help to improve glucose, insulin, and lipids, and reduce the inflammations, especially our systemic inflammation. And it can help to reduce weight and waist circumference, especially for those they are obese, they want to manage their obesity and overweight. And spices impact on cardiometabolic health. Okay, so you can see the black seed can help reduce cholesterol and glucose via thymoquinone. Ginger can help with improved glycemic control. Chili, a little less impact on glucose, but may boost metabolism and appetite control. While cinnamon has shows that positively impact our blood sugar and insulin in healthy individuals than the diabetic patients. While black pepper, it helps to improve the bioavailability of polyphenols and other phytochemicals. Turmeric, it helps to impact on BMI, body weight, waist circumference. While the snacking habits and metabolic health, we also view these three compare within each others. For biblical view, the Act 246 NIV says that every day they continue to meet together in the temple courts. Okay, they brought bread in their homes and ate together with glad and sincere hearts. Allen's view says that neither should the meals be delayed 1 or 2 hours to suit circumstances and in order that a certain amount of work may be accomplished. The stomach calls for food at the time it is accustomed to receive it. If that time is delayed, the vitality of the system decreases and finally reaches so low, and it may be that the appetite is entirely gone. If food is then taken, the stomach is unable to properly care for it. The food cannot be converted into good blood. When research shows that the social education is actually focusing on planning eating occasions, on eating mindfully and promoting more morning healthy snacks. And a greater consumption of snacks, if properly formulated, doesn't necessarily lead to an increase in body weight. So the research shows that the meal timing is very important. Delaying meals lower vitality and appetite. Well, if you have mindful eating, plan meals and replace unhealthy snacks with nutritious options such as fruits and dairy products. The snack timing also a critical one. The mid-afternoon snacks help energy distribution, while we try to avoid late night snacks which likely sustain liver glycogen stores. Now come to the end, the number of meals and the health. Okay, so the stomach health are very related to this number of meals that we take per day. In biblical view, they says that when you sit to dine with a ruler, not well what is before you, and put a knife to your throat if you are given to gluttony. Do not crave his delicacies, for that food is deceitful. Now, Allen's view says that we should not provide for the Sabbath a more liberal supply or a greater variety of food than for other days. Instead of this, the food should be more simple and less should be eaten in order that the mind might be clear and vigorous to comprehend spiritual things. A clogged stomach means a clogged brain. The most precious words may be heard or not appreciated. Because the mind is confused by an improper diet and by overeating on the Sabbath, many do more than they think and to unfit themselves for receiving the benefit of its scarce opportunities. But the research shows that irregular meal time is having very bad effects. What are the negative impacts? It actually linked to neuroticism, poor sleep, and low physical activity. So they also, based on the diet quality, irregular meal time is associated with low vegetable intake and high salt consumption. And shorter meals and fewer chills worsen the dietary choices. And research shows that this irregular meal time will cause this additional, like for example, they will eat a big and unbalanced meals at each meal time. And you can see the research shows the benefit of regular meal pattern. It can actually help to reduce inflammations. With the consistent meals, improve physiological health. And with a regular meal patterns, it can help to support natural body clocks and have better breakfast consumption. It also can help to improve meal patterns, enhance the gut microbiota, enhance the gut health. So fasting and health outcomes also, if let's say eating from breakfast until the late afternoon, it can help to improve health. Reduce meal frequency, for example, 2 to 3 meals per day, and the regular fasting period may provide physiological benefits. So occasional fasting can help to enhance metabolic and physiological benefits. So eating 2 meals per day or 4 or more meals per day was not associated with mortality in fully adjusted models. So come to the conclusions. We wanted to align our healthy diet with the faith and science. This conclusion, we have found out that most of these, they have plant-based focus. We focus on the fruits, vegetables, nuts, and grains. All these are foundations to our human health to help us to improve our well-being. Well, every evidence shows that we need to limit meat and sugar, reduce red meat, processed meat, and sugar, balance our salt intake, add herbs and spice to help us lower diseases risk. Well, balance time for healthy snacks, try to eat mindfully with regular meal timing, occasional fasting to avoid also late evening snacks and meals. All these healthy diet principles align with biblical and Ellen G. White's teachings. And that is my references. And that's all for my presentation. Thank you.